Today I'm going to give you an updated houseplant tour. We're looking at all of the plants inside of my house, in my garden, and the ones in the greenhouse. Which means there's lots and lots to see, so let's get right into it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been 6 months in my new house and I'm really happy with the growth I have seen, and I'm really happy with what I've done with the house so far, the way that I have decorated it. So I'm really excited to give you an updated tour, but I would love to start this tour the other way around. We always start off at the front of the house. Today I actually want to do the opposite, and we're going to start upstairs and then we're working our way down. Hey Bradley. Alrighty, so upstairs I actually only have one room with plants, which is my bedroom, and that is mainly because upstairs I have south-facing windows, and keep in mind I'm in the southern hemisphere, so south-facing windows are kind of the worst exposure you could possibly ask for. Now, when I first moved in summer, I still got decent bright indirect light coming through these windows, but as we're heading into autumn and winter, that natural light is becoming weaker and weaker. But I'm supplementing the light with this new Mother Grow light. It's the new Mother Life Spectrum, and it's not released yet. I'm actually testing a prototype that they sent me just a couple of weeks ago. It has the same specs as the previous plant spectrum that I've been using, but it comes on a little stand, which is really handy, and it has a little screw at the top, and eventually, they're not released yet because it's still a prototype, but eventually there'll be extensions that you can put on top if you want to create a more vertical taller grow light. So that's really good. That is feedback that I've been giving them for years now, and I'm really happy that they actually implemented that feedback. If you want to learn more about Mother, I've got it all linked in the description, and I'm working on a proof is in the pudding video about the lights specifically as well, so stay tuned for that. But before we talk plants, let's talk about conditions. I always say conditions set the growth potential. This is the little humidity and temperature reader in my bedroom, so it is cooling down a little bit, only 20-ish degrees, 19.8 degrees in here. I do still have the window open. Nighttime actually, it started getting down to like 12 to 13 degrees at nighttime, outside, not inside. So heating season is coming up. Now with the cooler temperatures, the relative humidity actually goes up. Cooler air can absorb less moisture, so the relative humidity is quite high, around 80% in here. And that is because it is super rainy in Sydney. It feels like it rains pretty much every day. So obviously, if it's nice and humid outside and have all of my windows open, it will be nice and humid inside as well. We can have some dryish conditions as well. Then it can go down to like 40-50% in humidity. That's where I keep my windows closed to keep the humidity up inside, but I don't use humidifiers. I'm pretty lucky that I live really close to the ocean, so naturally have good humidity. And I won't take all of them out, I'll bring you closer in a sec, but there's a few I really want to show you. Whee! So this Mother light is not just a grow light, this is now also a spotlight for my plants and for filming. I hope this works. Should be better. Alrighty, so this is my queen. This is the newest leaf, and I also filmed a time lapse of this leaf unfurling, which was honestly just so incredibly rewarding to watch. She is quite thirsty, and you can see, hopefully you can see that she has quite a lot of roots. I actually need to water this. But she is not in my regular chunky aeroid mix. Most of my plants are in my chunky aeroid mix. The queen, however, I put into a more water retentive mix, so it has more tree fern fiber rather than so much bark. Guys, as a content creator, light is the biggest challenge I'm facing, because with plants I want to film with natural light as much as I can. If there's too much natural light, then the shadows and the highlights are too much. I have a lot of grow lights, they make it look so harsh on camera. In reality, they look so much more integrated. You don't even notice them as much in real life, but on camera, it's a bit hard. I'm struggling with that, but I hope the end result looks a bit better than what I can see on my viewfinder right now. Now let me take you closer to show you all the other ones. I think that's better from a lighting perspective. This one is a Forgetii and Magnificum hybrid. It spent the summer in my greenhouse, but I would love for it to be here now instead, because I think it looks nice. I love the Forgetii parentage coming through with the closed sinus, and so nice and shiny. Down below I've got a Crystallinum. hasn't really done much recently, but that's okay. I'm not mad. Then, as I mentioned, the queen over here, I mean, she is just a stunner. And over here, I've got a little hybrid of Verrucosum and Billy. I have one in every room of my house. This one is actually a hybrid of Magnificum and a queen. I think I made this hybrid with a friend, yeah. Over here, we've got Papillimillium and Dresslery hybrid. I love how beautiful and dark this foliage is. So freaking nice. The king, and I've had the worst time growing King Anthurium. So this is the largest it has ever been, and I've had it for many, many years. So there's something about the king that just doesn't like me. This one is my crazy rubbish hybrid. I made these hybrids myself by self-pollinating my mother plant, which is a crystallinum hybrid. And this one is from the same batch of seeds, just isolated a little bit earlier. So it's already in a 20 centimeter pot rather than a 14 centimeter pot. And it is a little bit larger as a result of that. Down here, this is a Clionervium hybrid, kind of with a really nice white sinus. That's it for the room, but just quickly wanted to show you my setup with all of the Anthuriums. So I've got my really nice chunky aeroid mix, apart from the queen, and you can see all of these air pockets in here, and these air pockets have the humid air in it, so you can see all of that condensation, and look at all of these roots. I only recently potted this in here. There's already some sticking out the bottom, which is not a problem. They're just looking for more oxygen, but lots and lots of roots over here. Now, to prevent this from drying out, I have a layer of moss over here, plus that layer of moss. See these little roots that come out from the stem? Some Anthuriums are crawlers, but most of them are actually climbers. They just climb really, really slowly with really short internodal spacing. So I don't give it a moss pole, instead I just give it a moss pile, if that makes sense. I'll just put the moss around here, which will then make these roots grow from the moss, like here, from the moss into the aeroid mix. And at the same time, the moss is preventing the water from evaporating, so keeping it moist. My chunky aeroid mix is very, very chunky. It actually relies on me watering quite frequently because there aren't many water retentive parts to it. But I do that on purpose. I have time. Growing plants and watering them, that is my hobby. That is now also part of my job, actually, and it also is part of my content creation. So I don't want an automated setup. I don't want a setup that is just set and forget, right? I enjoy the hands-on part. I enjoy the caring for my plants part. I'm not aiming for this to be all done automatically and I just sit there and watch. I feel like that would take a lot of the fun away. But I could understand if somebody doesn't have as much time available as I do, then maybe you want to add a few more water retentive elements to your chunky aeroid mix. Make it less chunky, or just use less chunky ingredients like smaller pieces of bark, smaller pieces of perlite, but then ease up on the watering instead. My watering frequency is quite high-ish. Obviously, it depends on the weather, right? If it's 30 degrees and 50% humidity, I need to water more often than when it's 20 degrees and 80% humidity. So first and foremost, the conditions will obviously impact your care routine and your care schedule, but also your substrate, the pot size, the size of the plant, the amount of growth that the plant is currently having will all impact your watering frequency. So use that to your advantage. If you know you don't have much time to water, give it a more water retentive mix. Maybe go less conservative with the pot size. I'm really conservative and I give them really small pot sizes and I rather repot more frequently. Maybe go another number up and so on. Don't go too large, it's also not good, but you know what I mean? There are these small little things that you can take and adjust to suit your needs. You don't need to copy exactly what I do, but I'm just telling you what I do so you can hopefully take some inspiration. Anyway, let's pop this one back. Oh, one more cool feature about this light, because obviously I've got my bed right here. This light doesn't just vroom, turn on and it's like crazy. You can actually it has an automated smart timer with it, and you can set it up so that it slowly like dims itself up and then dims itself down at nighttime as well. So it's almost like, I think they call it wake up call or something like that. It's almost like sunrise and sunset, but I'm just producing it myself in my bedroom, which is pretty cool. since I quit my job and I do content creation full time, I actually wake up super early, way before the light even is on anyway, because I don't know, I'm just so excited to do things on a daily basis. Like I wake up and I'm like, let's go. But yeah, alrighty. That's everything we got to see upstairs. So let's head downstairs because that's where most of the magic happens. Alrighty, this is my favorite part of the day, and I know it is terrible for filming purposes, but with autumn and winter approaching, the sun is moving really, really fast at the moment. So it is around midday. Oh, it's around 11 o'clock right now, and this is a large north-facing window. East is here, west is here. I have no west-facing window, that's where the neighbors live. I have one east-facing window over there, and this is my only north-facing window. All other windows are south, so I'm very, very challenged when it comes to light in this house. But the biggest window is the north-facing one, so happy, happy days. In summer, however, the sun pretty much goes like this, whee! Which means that no sun is actually coming through into the house. You get this indirect light, but it's not even super bright. So it's actually really dark inside during summer. During winter, however, or autumn, winter, during the cooler season, let's put it this way, the sun is moving more like this. So as a result of it, I get this sun beaming through and the floor is reflecting it nicely. So my plants actually get more direct sun during the cooler season than during the warmer season, but the direct sun isn't so super strong to burn them. So I'm not concerned, but as a result of that, I do definitely rearrange a little bit, or at least assess whether some of these plants might need to move away. And I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but there is construction going on next door. I was hoping to wait for that to stop, but I might have to wait another year or so for that to ever stop. So we just need to suck it up and hopefully it's not too disruptive in the end. Hello, my little jungle tiger. Now this corner gets more sun because that's how the sun moves. So all of these plants over here just rely on the natural light and they're actually loving the cooler season. This corner gets less light because of the way that the sun is moving. So this corner has a grow light. I think you can see this in frame just here. So it's just an IKEA lamp with a Soltech light bulb in it. And again, all of my grow lights are linked in the description in case you want to find out more. Let me just show you the other part of the living room over here with my beautiful air conditioning. By the way, the aircon is broken and it's getting replaced. Yay! So hopefully we don't have to look at the ugly yellow thing over there for all too long. These are the things that, you know, if I would own this house, these are the things I would fix ASAP, right? But because I'm a renter, there's just, you know, no point in doing that. On this side of the living area is my dining area, and then you've got the east-facing window over here. Now, during the cooler season, I get less direct sun coming through here. In summer, the sunrise is actually just beaming through here. But during winter, I don't get all too much direct sun coming through this anymore, unfortunately. So I have a grow light over here as well, and I actually built my own grow light stand, but I'll show you that in a little bit more detail in a second. But this part of the house is definitely more challenged when it comes to filling it with plants, because light will always set the growth potential, and there's just not that much growth potential in this part of the house. This is where we walk up to the bedrooms, and this part of the house is super dark. So it is kind of like I've got the TV here, and then I've got like some cupboards, some storage over here. Brett got his little throne over here that he kind of just ignores. But this part of the house, unfortunately, is really dark. So all of the plants go here. Not a bad thing. Look, I do have a housemate as well, so this is no longer just my house. So, you know, while I do want to fill this space with plants, I also don't want it to be like too much or taking away from the ability to just live here, if that makes sense. So, you know, I think I found a happy medium, and as a result of that, I just took more plants and put them outside instead. But enough about the room in itself. Let me show you some of the plants a little bit closer. Alrighty, so we've got my Monstera Thai constellation here. Something I really don't like is that with the light coming from above, all of these leaves are now just facing up. I much rather have them face forward so they have a nice display side. So while I'm happy with the light and the light's performance at the moment. I want to change the way it's positioned. Behind it we've got my big Adansonii, but I just gave it a chop yesterday, so it's no longer that big, but there are lots and lots and lots of cuttings on here now. There's like 4 or 5 cuttings on here now, so it's just a matter of time for them to all find their way up this moss pole again. So I'm excited for that, but again, I would love to actually change the way that the light comes in from the front. And then next to that, we've got my Ring of Fire, enjoying a little bit of direct sun. This is the newest leaf. Now let me show you what happened. The plant was growing up this moss pole really nicely up until here, and then it just started sending out heaps and heaps of flowers. I moved and whatnot, and the plant kind of just went into shock. After the shock, it actually started reshooting in many spots. So I've got a growth point here, a growth point here, a growth point here, a growth point here. So now I have like 4 growth points on here, and it just, actually this is a growth point too. So it did that all by itself. I mean, you can see how it was just uniformly growing up here, and then suddenly it's just clustering out like crazy. So yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing. Just wondering whether all of these growth points will actually produce leaves, or if it will just focus on the main one over here. But you can definitely see roots going into the moss pole over here, so it will take advantage of the moss pole. There's even some roots sticking out the top. Right, so that's it for this little corner. It looks quite underwhelming at the moment, but that's mainly because, well, the Adansonii just got cut in half. On the other side of the big north-facing window is my Oxalis. It really loves the direct sun. It makes it grow nice and lush, and it really doesn't mind. As finicky, as like dainty as they might look, they can actually tolerate a lot of sun. I've got a little variegated Monstera propagation over here. Yay, coming through with the first fenestration and some decent variegation for once. And then I've got my big Cuprea over here. She has seen better days, but is still growing nicely. I think this is the latest leaf. There's a new leaf coming over here. And this is a pup that it produced maybe 2 years ago, and I think I saw another pup the other day. Yeah, there you go. There's another one that it's creating now. I get asked about this plant a lot. How did I manage to grow it this large? Honestly, I don't think I could replicate it. If I would try again, I would really struggle. But it's in my chunky aroid mix, and I don't let it dry out, and I just stay patient. It's like 4 years old. And over here we've got Monstera siltepecana El Salvador. Now this plant is a bit of a mess. I haven't done a chop and extend with this plant in years now. Whenever it reaches the top, I honestly just kind of cut it, or kind of try and train it down, cut here, and you know, I just kind of avoid having to do a chop and extend with it because, well, it's nice and lush. It has some good fenestrations, but some of these leaves as a result of this are really old and are slowly kind of fading. But I'm hoping I can just keep doing this till the beginning of the next growing season, and then maybe I'll chop it in spring. Alrighty, then we've got my couch over here. It's from Oz Design, by the way. Lots and lots of people have asked me, and some people asked me about my paintings as well. They are photographs, and I took the photos and just printed them. Over here, got a little display of Banksias. Beautiful. Just love Banksias in a vase. I think they just look so stunning. And down here, I've got a little jungle tiger enjoying the afternoon sun. Or, well, it's not afternoon yet. It's before noon. What's it called? Before noon sun? Wrong way, huh? Should film you this way, my baby. Hello. Yes. Oh, yes. Look at you go. Okay, we'll come back to you later. Yeah, baby? Alright, let's move through here. So, ignore the ugly aircon over here, but this is the grow light stand that I built. So it's from Soltec, and this is like this bracket that you would normally drill into the wall. But I can't drill anything into the wall because I'm a renter, so I drilled it into a piece of wood, and that piece of wood I put in a pot with concrete, and then I just topped it up with some cocoa chips to make it look natural. So the idea is that I basically built my own grow light stand for a grow light that I already had. This one is the, what's it called? I think Aspect. So I already had the grow light, but I couldn't really make proper use of it. In my previous tour, you might have seen it was hanging from this ceiling vent, which just looked really bad. So I built this. I don't know if this is like the prettiest you've ever seen, but it works. It's functional and it takes advantage of the thing I already had, right? So that's good, and I love a good DIY. And first and foremost, what I can now do as well, I just have a string attached over here. I can pull the light, I can maneuver the light. Because light intensity is important, but the direction of the light is also important to create nice displays. As I mentioned with the Adansonii before, it's coming too much from the top. I want it to come a little bit more from the front. Now, this is my variegated Monstera over here, taking full advantage of the beautiful light. Now only put this light up maybe 2 weeks ago, so let's see if, how happy the plant is. But the variegated Monstera is certainly super happy. And have a look at all of these roots over here, right? Roots can also go in and out of the moss pole. That is perfectly fine. They don't have to all be in the moss pole, but have a look at this. So many roots. I also used a little piece of twine over here to just bring it a bit closer to the moss pole, because it was kind of running away towards the light. That was before I put the new stand on. But all of these roots will go in, creating a huge root system for this plant. Happy days. Next to that, let me just get up on the chair. Next to that, we've got my Mangela pothos. And look at this. Beautiful. I do think the light, leaf size is decreasing a little bit. I also took it out of the greenhouse and put it in here instead, just for winter, because I really love this plant. Now I probably should adjust the light a little bit. Yeah, I'll adjust the light later a little bit so that the Mangy gets a little bit more as well, but she also gets some light from this window, which just doesn't translate on camera. But yeah, she is thriving. Now with her, I also have a second pole on here, and there's some more cuttings over here. I mean, some of these are fully variegated. Now they aren't growing as fast and as much as I would want to. They're actually really, really slow, and that's mainly because, well, they're really shaded by the big other leaves, right? So they're not getting as much light, and they're already super, super wide. So yeah, which is fine. I don't mind. Just kind of, I would love for this to just fill in the gaps over here, make it look a little lusher. But growing plants this looks so wrong. Honestly guys, I swear to God, it doesn't look as bad in real life as it looks on that viewfinder. On the viewfinder, the highlights look super, super bright and everything else looks super dark. It's much more evenly lit in real life. Down here I've got the big Anthurium that I made all of these crazy rubbish hybrids from, and it's just outgrown the spot up there. So I just put it here, and I'm actually hoping that with the light coming from above that these leaves will just start facing up a little bit. That's the one thing I don't like about Anthuriums, their growth pattern. I mean, I'm trying to kind of tame it with a string, but these petioles will just go in all directions and take up way too much space, and space is precious. Talking about crazy rubbish, this is a full pot of just crazy rubbish. So all of these are crazy rubbish hybrids. They're all self-pollinated from this mother plant over here that I showed you. And I just popped all of the seeds into one pot and I just let it grow wild. So as a result of that, you see some larger ones that I should probably isolate because they're taking away the light from everything else. And over the last 2 years, I have separated plants out all the time. So the ones you see upstairs, they were separated pretty early on. You'll see some more in the greenhouse later on as well. So whenever there's a plant that just grows too large, I kind of just gently pull it out, propagate it, because usually when I pull it out I lose a bit of the roots, and that gives the rest a chance to catch up. So yeah, really lazy way of going about it, but I also end up having this beautiful display. Now by the window over here, let me show you, I've got a Chironia. She moved from the greenhouse in here to to survive winter out here. I think she would not appreciate the cooler temperatures. I've got a Styramarkii over here, which has grown the biggest leaves ever. in my care. So really happy. It must really like this spot with the bright indirect light and a little bit of morning sun. And already growing a new leaf over here. Definitely need to give this one an extension. And then over here, let me maybe take this out. I've got my Esmeraldense. It's looking okay. The newest leaf had a lot of damage when unfurling. I also took this out of the greenhouse to overwinter here. And it is definitely growing in and around the moss pole as well, so not a bad thing. This one has really, really long petioles, so again I'm using twine to kind of manage the plant. Another plant with a huge spread is my Sodiroy. Now I moved it over here, and at this stage I am not managing the petioles. You can see the petioles going wild, but I think I'm now in a position to start managing them. So I'll just take some twine and I'll tie them all up. But yeah, you can see she's grown up this moss pole quite nicely, and she's been on this is where the extension starts. She's been on this moss pole for over 3 years, and now it's reached the extension, and the internodal spacing has actually increased quite a bit recently, so it's growing a bit faster. She just has a crazy spread, like she takes up so much space, so yeah, I don't really know what to do with her. I need to really tie her up a little bit. Down here, I've got another mixed pot of anthuriums. These ones are magnificums. And yeah, I don't know, I kind of forget about this pot. It's not, I don't know, I need to do something with it. It's not looking its best, but it exists. And over here is another one of these cute little Verrucosa and Billy hybrids. As I mentioned, I have one in every room as part of a little experiment, and you'll get a full video on that. Behind it, in like a really dark corner, is my Pictum tricolor. And it still flowers all the time. Now, this is by far the darkest corner of my house, and the plant is still happy. This is a Scindapsus pictus. I don't think this plant would actually have grown this nicely in that spot, but it was already this large when I put it here, and it's now just not dying, if that makes sense, right? So that's good, but I don't really recommend a dark spot like that. In summer, however, the sun comes through over here during sunrise. So it does actually get some direct sun in really early in the morning during summer, but at the moment it's definitely challenging when it comes to light. There's not much happening in the kitchen, just some more dried Banksias over here, happy days. And then down here is another really dark corner of my house, and I've got the Mother Forest in here. I've got a video about this stand and it's all linked in the description as well. Now heads up, this is not a cheap product, but it is made from quality products and it comes with the integrated grow lights. So I really, really like it, and I kind of use it as a bit of a propagation station. I have some water propagations here and here, and some smaller kind of trailing plants. But to be honest, I keep forgetting to water this all the time. Even though it's right here, I just keep forgetting about it. I don't know what it is about it, but I really love that it enables me to put plants everywhere. So this is such a dark corner, and if it wasn't for this stand with integrated lights, I would just not be able to put anything here. If you are blessed with a lot of natural light, there are lots of other stands that are much more cost effective, let's say, that you could use instead. But I think for me, with the darkness of this corner and kind of my aesthetic preference being really clean, this is a really good option. I really like this. Down here we've got a Mosaica. That was one of my first plants I ever gotten, and I still really love it. That's not the original one. I killed, I think, 2 in between, but every now and then I just buy a new one. Yeah, this had some propagations, some pothos over here. I just wanted to. I don't often grow plants as a trailing plant, but this is kind of nice. This one is finding the wall. Hello. This one's kind of going wild. I have to do something about it, but actually I don't mind the wilder look of this display. Alrighty, and then from here we can move into the office, which you can already see in the reflection over here. There we are. This is my plant room / my office, and this is by far my favorite part of the house. I mean, every room of my house is a plant room, but this one specifically. So this is where I've got all of my tall moss poles, like my precious babies, you know, in my velvet philodendron, and I've got 4 mother lights over here actually, 2 mounted on top of each other. These are the plant spectrums, and I really dodgily mounted them on top of each other, and it's definitely nothing I recommend, because once that comes crashing down, you will most likely break them. So that's when I emailed them and said, hey, it would be really good if you could actually make your lights expandable, because I like vertical growing, so it would make sense for the grow light to mimic that vertical exposure, which they have now done with the new Life Spectrum, so happy days. Lots happening over here. I'll take you a little bit closer, but basically in a nutshell, my Glorious over here is actually in 2 parts, and I gave it a massive chop, and it's still recovering from that massive chop, but it's looking okay. But there's quite a lot of leaf damage as a result of this massive chop that I gave it just a couple of months ago. My Splendid in the corner over there is ginormous, and it's become so top and front heavy, I kind of need to lean it way backwards and kind of wedge it into that corner. So it actually looks much smaller than it is because it's so far away. If I would stand next to that, and I'll try and squeeze in later maybe, you'll really notice the true size of this. It doesn't come across on camera. Even my housemate, the other day I took all of my plants outside for watering. When I took this one out, she's like, where was this plant? It's huge. What the hell? And I was like, oh, it's the one in the corner. And she's like, what? Like it looks twice as large when you take it out of that corner. So yeah, this plant is ginormous. My Verrucosum, recovering. I've had such a bad run with this plant, but still has a special place in my heart. And then on the right over here, I just recently done some chop and extends. Now on this side, and we love filming against the light, we've got my IKEA cabinet, which is really happy at the moment. I also just moved a few plants out of here, and we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail. And then over here I've got lots and lots of plants taking advantage of the bright indirect light of a large south-facing window. So not the good exposure that I want, but it is this bright indirect light, right? So it doesn't get direct sun. The plants still seem to be quite happy, and I have mainly chosen plants like a Verrucosum or an El Choco, for example, where I still get to enjoy looking at the backside of the plant, right? Obviously the plant should face the window, it should face the light, so it's not the most aesthetically pleasing backside in itself. But because I've chosen plants like the Verrucosum with beautiful backsides, I don't mind the look. Now, I might just pop you here so that we can film with the light rather than against the light. And I'll just take these plants out one by one and I'll show you. Why is the camera moving by itself? So, remember how I told you that I'm struggling with the Verrucosum a little bit? Well, just with my original Verrucosum. In between I actually rescued a Verrucosum and it's going really, really well. Like this Verrucosum is absolutely thriving, and it has the most beautiful backsides as well. So very, very happy with this one. And it just really comes to show you that sometimes when a plant is on a downward spiral, it might take longer to wait for the plant to sort itself out, or like, you know, then if you just chop it up and start fresh. Sometimes starting fresh is actually faster. And that's this one over here. This plant was actually a rescue, and I've got a full video on the whole rescue journey, and I also have a video in the making on the other Verrucosum. So you know me by now, I like to film videos over the course of many months to show you kind of like the progression of plants, the updates of plants and so on, rather than just here and there. So stay patient. Tim from Grow Vertical. So Grow Vertical are these plastic back poles. I don't make them myself, I just get them from Tim from Grow Vertical, and they're always linked in the description, international shipping, and I've got a discount code. He also sent me this plant, which is a Verrucosum titanium. I don't know what that means, but it looks super nice. It still has the Verrucosum backside, but definitely more shiny at the front, if that makes sense. I don't know what it is, what makes it titanium. I don't think Tim knew either, because I think otherwise I would have remembered. But that's okay. I think sometimes we don't need to desperately give everything names. Sometimes we can just accept plants for how beautiful they are. This one is an Escalado, and it had thrips. Which one was the thrippy leaf? Are they all the thrippy leaves, no? Oh yeah. See this brownish orangey tinge? That is usually a sign of thrips damage. The new leaf looks clean though. Then, yes, I am trying again. This is my Frydek. And after the last time, after it completely just died on me, people recommended to do less, you know. So I actually now have it just in ambient temperatures rather than my IKEA cabinet, and it seems to enjoy less light and less humidity. So I probably killed it with too much kindness by the sounds of it. This was all grown from corms, and yeah, see how we go. I think the less I care about it, the better it will do. Alrighty, one of my faves at the moment, Philodendron El Choco Red, or Rupri Juvenile. It's called Rupri Juvenile because when juvenile, it is super, super red in the back. It doesn't come across as super, super red on camera, but you can also see the caterpillar, really, really red. So a beautiful, beautiful plant. Many people ask me why I grow it on a moss pile, because people tend to also grow it as a crawler. But honestly, I don't know how much more climby than this plant it can possibly get. It certainly climbs, and have a look at the increase in thickness of the stem as it climbs. And the thicker the stem, the more potential for the plant to grow a nice large leaf. This dark foliage with the beautiful electric veining, the red bags, the velvet, what's not to love? And then similar to the Frydek, this is my Ghost, and I also have not had great success in growing ghosts until I kind of stopped caring about them all too much and gave them worse conditions. So there's also just an ambient conditions. Now this white is more minty. Doesn't mean that it's a Florida mint or whatever, it just means that it's a Florida Ghost that didn't get that much light. The more light you give it, the whiter the leaves will emerge. Eventually they'll all fade into green. If you give it bright indirect light and not too much, then it will be a little bit mintier. Let's talk about the humidity. Over here it's also 20 degrees and 80% humidity because, well, my bedroom is right above, so why would it be any different? Obviously 80% humidity is huge, but it's not always 80%. I would say on average it's more around 60%. And when we're going into winter and I start heating this place as well, it will definitely get drier. So I would say on average the humidity is more about 60%, which is still really, really high, of course. And a lot of places in a lot of other countries you can't actually achieve that sort of humidity. On that note, I get that question quite a bit. How is that not dangerous for the house or for us? How are we alive? I think it's really something that comes from colder countries, and I grew up in Germany, and we hate humidity over there. You know, we're really worried about mold forming over there. Now, when you live in a cooler country like Germany, for example, your houses are actually properly insulated, which means that if you have really high humidity inside, like the humidity is just trapped in there and will cause mold. In Australia, the window is hardly even closed. Like I can feel the wind through the window. So because our houses don't have insulation, at least the older ones, it is just whatever it is outside is whatever it is outside is inside. When it's winter, it gets as cool inside as it does outside. Heating is an absolute nightmare because it feels like you're just heating the street. So, you know, it's not great, let's say, but I kind of, my plants get to appreciate the higher humidity as a result of all of that, and I don't have to worry about mold because there's always airflow. Talking about airflow, I also have this new fan, which is really cool because it does 360 degrees of air. So the top can go this way while the bottom goes this way, and then it spins as well. So basically I can have the plants get airflow and I can get airflow while I'm sitting at my desk at the same time. In this room I have almost like 270 degrees of plants. I really just have no plants where the door is. Alright, let's move on. This one is Monstera adansonii Indonesian marble. I think that's what it was called. I don't know. Monstera is the most confusing genus to me, and names are just names. I just like to look at them. They are variegated, but the variegation fades, and sometimes I feel like the variegation is really like deforming these leaves. So not sure if I actually like the variegation. What I really like about this plant is the oddly shaped fenestrations. I think they look so cool. So I really like this plant, and it's a great example. I had this plant growing in my greenhouse and all of the leaves were facing up because that's where the light comes from. And I put it in the south facing window and all of the leaves point forwards, giving me a nice display site. So again, just shows that it's not just about light intensity, it's also the position of light that is, at least to me, really important to create really nice, aesthetically pleasing displays. Next to that, we've got my Florida Beauty, and she just moved out of the greenhouse, and as a celebration of moving out of the greenhouse, I dropped her by accident. So she lost a couple of leaves, unfortunately, but the ones she still has are gorgeous. Really nice mix of variegations, some really highly variegated ones, some less variegated ones, so just a healthy medium, and there's a new leaf coming over here. So yeah, really excited about this one, and I also am working on a separate video on this. Alrighty, we've got my Jose Bono. This leaf was grown in the greenhouse, but given it is now cooling down quite a bit outside, I decided to move it inside. Pretty sure this was also a greenhouse leaf, but down here, that's my neighbor trying to leave the driveway. But over here, you can see a new leaf emerging. So happy days. And I told you I have a hybrid of the Billy and Vero in every room. One in my office over here as well. Now, I don't know if this is thrips damage or if that's just mechanical damage from unfurling. I'm not too sure, to be honest. This is the back side. You can see some red from the verrucosum parentage. And over here, I have a obliqua propagation. Some okay roots and a new growth point as well. So happy days. Not my only obliqua. I have 4 of them now. Alright, up here we've got a Anthurium vitarifolium. Nice strappy leaves. I love this. Just add something a little bit different to the plant collection, right? So really happy, and yeah, I do very little for it. It has really chunky, succulent roots, so it doesn't mind drying out a little bit, so I'm not concerned. And it just crawls along the surface of the pot, kind of. So there are 3 plants in here, or like it's triple-headed. So yeah, all good. Which gives us now the ability to look at the, what's it called? IKEA cabinet. So let's just have a look, but I might take you off there and I'll bring you a bit closer. Alrighty, of course we've got a Billy verrucosum over here as well. I think they're calling it Billycosum. Let me actually turn this off, it's better. And this one is doing really, really well. Look at this, it's looking so cool. But again, I'm planning on a special video for this plant as well. My Luxuriance, the newest leaf, that is just so sexy. Super, super happy with that. Another obliqua propagation over here, just in moss. And this is a variegated Anthurium that's really struggling. Patriciae, really, really need to give this one a moss pile. Look at the roots, look at this. What a waste. They should go into a moss pile. So that's on the agenda for this week for sure. Can't wait for this one to grow up. This one is I'm really excited about. This one is a crazy rubbish propagation over here. This one is Anthurium chernia, something like that. I'll put it on screen. Crazy, crazy texture. So nice and velvety. Really happy with that. This one is a hybrid I made with a friend. It was a Magnificum Forgetii parent. The other parent was my queen. Another crazy rubbish propagation. Another crazy rubbish propagation. I have a lot of crazy rubbish. More obliquas over here, because why not? So I think I triple planted this one over here. So can't wait for this to go nice and lush. I just love that. They're not going to grow super large, so I went for a lush look instead. Over here I've got a variegated Milano, and the variegation used to be really nice, but it kind of like turned into a bit of shit, to be honest. This is definitely also thrips damage, and the last one has nothing, but see if it comes back. Over here I've got a Frosted Heart Syngonium, growing on a pole quite nicely, working on a separate video on this one as well. I've got a, what is this? Square Heart, I think, a Clonervium hybrid. Had root rot, so I'm propagating it now just in water. And over here I've got a Rugosum with nice textured leaves, also grown nicely into its pole. So yeah, this is my IKEA cabinet. In here I have 2 Soltec row lights, one at the top and one at the door, because with the door, when I then close it, I make sure that the light comes from the front. And I mean, I said that a couple of times now, it's not just about light intensity, it's also about the light positioning, the exposure. So it coming from the front makes sure that these leaves don't all just face up, but rather face to the front. Happy days. Alrighty, then let's go through the moss poles. Over here, these two recently had a chop, so they look a little bit underwhelming, or like most of the growth is down here. My Gigas and my Melanochrysum. Well, not too much to say about these, apart from they're now slowly starting their way up their extensions, so we just need to stay patient with these ones. This one is the Verrucosum. Said it doesn't look the prettiest, but still can't really complain. And look at the back sides, that's just so nice. And a new one coming over here. So maybe it's finally turned the corner. Alright, see what I mean with I wedged it into the corner over there, in between the electrical box and the wall, just so it doesn't fall. But look how huge these leaves are compared to my hand. I can hardly reach it. Such a pretty plant. It is reaching the top of its moss pole, so due for a chop and extend soon. And while it's sad that it needs a chop and it's going to be much smaller, I'm actually really looking forward to having a plant that's more manageable to look after. Exactly what I did with my Glorious, I chopped it in half, so I've got the top half over here. The top half was completely unrooted, so I'm waiting for this to re-establish a root system, and as a result of that, I am expecting some setbacks. For example, this leaf has been unfurling for 2 months. I don't think this is going to make a nice leaf, but that's okay, we're waiting for roots. In the meantime, the bottom part of the pole still has all of the roots that it always had. And it has all of these leaves to support it. So it is now, can I zoom in? So it is now pushing out 2 growth points, one here and one down there. Obviously just the top one is more advanced, but there's a first leaf coming out. So I'm looking forward to that. Over here we've got a Majestic, also unfurling a new leaf over here. And a variegated Adansonii, because why not try again? Just got that one at the Plant Collectors Fair last weekend. Alrighty, that's it for the plant room / office. Let me put this back. Now I mentioned thrips a couple of times, and let's quickly talk about pests. I don't have a solution for you guys. I'm using Comfort Spray, which was actually discontinued. And I'm actually trying to find a more eco-friendly approach going forward. So I need to do some more research into non-chemical ways of treating pests, and then I'll definitely share that journey with you as well. Now, I don't really have a solution for you right now, but my approach to pest treatment is really not worrying too much. Like, I don't see pest damage, or I don't see a pest and I just go crazy. I've just accepted that it will be part of the hobby. Sometimes it's as easy as just taking the pest infected leaf and just throwing it out before it can spread even further. Keeping the plants clean just by cleaning it with water also stops the pests from really settling in the first place. So I think right now 95% of my approach is really proactive, making sure that pests don't become an issue in the first place. And then when I do notice an issue here and there, that's when I still use that little bit of leftover Comfort Spray that I have. Now that I do this full time and I have a little bit more time into researching, I do want to do research into this topic, maybe speak to a few experts who have already achieved a non-chemical approach to pest treatment, and then I'll be sharing that with you as well. But in the meantime, unfortunately, I'm of no help. Alrighty, we're done with the indoors. Let's head into the garden. Alrighty, and we are in my garden, and right now I think the construction workers are on lunch break, so let's take advantage of that. Now, the first thing I did when I moved into this house was set up my garden. So this garden had about 6 months of growing in, and obviously those were the good 6 months. We have had crazy heat waves though. We've had multiple 40-degree days, or upwards of 40 degrees. So actually over the last 6 months, the main challenge in this garden was too much heat and too much sun. A few things got burned here and there. Now the next 6 months will be more challenging in regards to the cooler temperatures. All of the plants that you see out here will most likely stay out here. I mean, I am still moving things around inside a little bit here and there. And I moved a few of the precious ones over the inside. But the ones that you see here will most likely just stay out here all winter long, and they just have to fight for their survival. So let's do a little tour. Alrighty, here's my euphorbia that came with the place. But what I did do is I chopped her because she was just reaching the ceiling. She was getting smashed into the ceiling. Oh no, the construction's back. And they are all propagating in here at the moment. So I'll just probably keep them there till the beginning of spring. This jade tree also came with the place. It was very leggy, so I gave it a repot and then I gave it a chop, and now there's lots and lots of little shoots. Okay, the construction is back, but I can't wait, because they might be doing this for another 4 to 5 hours. So I think we're just gonna power through it. Sorry for the background noise if it's too crazy. Golden cane palm over here, and then over here we've got my wall of aeroids, which I could not be happier with. So Monstera braziliform, Deliciosa braziliform, and this one is just on a wooden plank, just because I'm trying to prove a principle. So this is an experiment. It can definitely grow up, this wooden pole. The problem is not the growing up part. The problem is what do we do when it reaches the top. This one is my Epipremnum pennatum Cebu Blue. Not so Cebu Blue anymore, because with the maturity it loses the blue part. But I mean, are these leaves not the most stunning thing? And a new one coming as well. Monstera pinnatipatita. Finally growing really nice and pretty. I love these leaves that it's grown recently. They just look so cool. Next to that we've got my variegated Epipremnum pennatum. Also growing quite nicely over here. Cannot complain about this. Adds a little bit of color. And then over here we've got my Monstera dubia. Also huge new growth. Look at this. Really, really beautiful. Really loving this spot. The problem is the sun kind of moves through here, so a lot of these leaves want to face backwards towards my neighbors. And I'm like, no, my plants, face me. Siltepecana over here going crazy, and you also will notice random Micans cuttings everywhere. Like here, like Micans is taking over. Look at this. This one is Philodendron atabapoense. Newest leaf is a little bit smaller, but the summer growth over here was really, really nice. Right? Adds some nice texture to the garden. And this is the Micans that has thoroughly rooted into the fence. It's been here for 6 months now, and yeah, I mean, you can see it's running away from me. Which is okay, I don't mind. It can take over. That is more than fine. Here we've got a nice Heliconia that's also growing in really, really nicely, but hasn't flowered for me just yet. Over there we've got the same Heliconia, but grown in the ground, also thriving. And then there's this one, I think is a Kentia palm. It's also giving me huge leaves this season, huge. And yeah, this is kind of just to give me a little bit more privacy from the neighbors. Then here we've got a foxtail palm. I should probably move it into a sunnier spot. It's a recovery project, trust the process. And my blood banana has seen better days, but I think it's finally recovering. This is a Philodendron no ID. Trio star over here. A reverted Paraiso verde. And this one is Philodendron campi. Licuala elegans. This one is not potted in the ground. I actually kept it in a pot, but has given me a couple of nice leaves this season. And then down over here we've got my Canna Stuttgart. I cut it way back, and there's some new shoots coming over here, but this will just be dormant over winter, and then in summer it will give it a repot and it will thrive again. Down here we've got some crawlers like a mame, pasta. I think this one is a Dean. I think this one is a pasta. But yeah, just some crawling philodendron, Rhaphidophora decursiva, some Marantis, some more Marantis over here, more Marantis, Philodendron martianum, and over here this is Colocasia esculenta. Looking really, really nice, right? This is some type of orchid. I don't remember the name. Sorry, I was gifted that one. I didn't buy that. A Thaumatophyllum Xanadu and a Thaumatophyllum bipinnifidibilum. That one. Huge. I mean, this plant has grown so ginormous since I gave it a repot. I repotted it less than a year ago, and all of the leaves you can see, like the leaves previous to the repot were this. And then all of these big leaves you see here were all growing just in this courtyard in the last 6 months. So it pushes out a huge leaf a month. Crazy. Makes a huge impact on this space. Absolutely love this plant. Hello, jungle tiger. Do you love the garden? Okay. Look at this. Oh my god, I forgot the name right now. Cordyline. Look how cute the cordyline flowers are. And I saw a possum sit in this plant before. I'll insert a photo if I can find it. So cute. This one is a Bothworth Beauty in bloom. And yeah, holding on to heaps and heaps of leaves. But of course these leaves are slightly damaged. Just mechanical damage from just being bashed around. Another Philodendron no ID that has also found its way onto the fence over here. And the decursiva has sent out a runner all the way from over there, from here, and is now climbing up the fence. Yay. I've got a little variegated monstera out here. I think this is a domesticum if I'm not mistaken. And then my little alocasia corner. I've had much more success with alocasias outside than inside. So my green velvet is finally thriving, but only once I put it out here. Mickey Mouse, what's it called? Xanthosoma lime singer, really nice. And Sarian over here. Oh, and of course just some green ones as well over here. So this is my little alocasia corner. And to be honest, behind the greenhouse is kind of like my let's ignore this corner. Over here I've got my Strelitzia, my bird of paradise. There was a rescue, so it's doing really, really well since the rescue. And it has pupped out over here again. This is a new pup, and yeah, so now I have 3 in here, so happy days. Regal Shields has certainly seen better days, but it is what it is. And the Platinum Dragon has never seen better days. This is like the biggest it has ever been. Really nice. Just ignore my current cable management, not super happy with that. But over here I've got 2 big heliconias. One of them is a hot Rionite. I think the left one is a hot Rionite. The other one is a Kawachi, I think. But I just love how tall these are, giving it a little bit of structure and ultimately privacy from the street over there as well. Not sure if they'll stay there. During summer I keep rearranging, but over here is a Caladium, I think Frog in a Blender it is, but it is definitely going kind of dormant. Some of these leaves are suffering a little bit because it's getting cooler. My little Bromelia display that has done so little over the last year, but that's okay, I haven't given up yet. Oh, I think these 2 are new. I haven't seen these 2 before. That's cool. Okay, so it's doing something. Nice. Over here we've got my ZZ Raven. Hasn't ravened up yet. You can see the older leaves get dark. And a little Xanadu down here as well. And then we've got my big Bismarck palm over here. Very happy with that. I love this Bismarck palm. Over here we've got a Canna Cleopatra blooming again, which is random. And I'm gonna try my Billy out here. Why not? Why not? I like to try new things. Alright, so just a little pan through the garden. I absolutely love my garden. This is a golden Robinia, I believe, and it will be losing all of its leaves shortly, so can't wait for that mess. And then we've got a I think it's a lily pilly, I don't know, and a Morea. So I'm not good with trees. Let's move into the greenhouse. This is my Sproutwell greenhouse over here. And I've got a full video on setting it up, filling it, repotting in there. So lots and lots of additional greenhouse content if you're interested. Now the mist is just went on, so it is kind of a bit wet and I'm trying to protect my camera gear. But we've got some alocasias in here as well. The Jacqueline, some alocasia propagations from Corms over here, including some little Frydecks, variegated Macrorhizia, blah, blah, blah. Gargaena, I love this one. Then I have my Plaumannii, nice little crawling plant here, looking good. And my Gloriosum as a crawler over here as well, crawling down this pot. In the back I've got another Verrucosum, and oh my god, I forgot about this pot of Anthuriums. Sorry. We've got Monstera subpennata. It reached the top ages ago and I was just too lazy, so I just recently gave it a chop rather than actually extending it. Another Monstera Majestic. This one is a bit larger, and look at this beautiful new leaf. Majestic is a hybrid of Sodiroy and Verrucosum, and you can see the Verrucosum parentage very clearly with the red backs. I've got a tub of live sphagnum moss over here that I got at the fair, so I'll keep that here for like a project one day. This is a runner of Obliqa, and it has actually reshot over here. So. And excuse the mess, I really need to clean the greenhouse. And of course I've got a Billy Verrucosum hybrid over here as well. As part of the experiment, I want one in all of my growing conditions and see what suits it best. Beautiful Alocasia odora batik. Another variegated Alocasia and some variegated Monsteras over here as well. A random begonia I think AJ gave me. Yeah. Anthurium radicans over here. Magnificum, another Magnificum. Obviously all of these are hybrids. This is my Crazy Rubbish, another one of course. Newest leaf over here, looking very, very nice. Love the Crazy Rubbish. And a Clarinervium over here with a new leaf as well. Happy days. In the corner over there we've got a classic, a beautiful variegated Syngonium. A Rhipsalis hanging over here. And then my newest obsession, carnivorous plants. So this carnivorous plant, Nepenthes rocco, I got last year at the Collectors Plant Fair, and it's so happy in my greenhouse that this year I got another one. And I forgot to look at the label, I don't even know the name, but can you see this in there? There's like half a moth in there, Jesus. But yeah, anyway, see how I go with this plant, the nameless one. If somebody remembers this name or knows this name, please let me know. Another Rhipsalis over here. I just think hanging plants make this so nice and jungly. Then some Alocasias here. This is a Cupria, this is a Silver Dragon, and a green Dragon Scale. And a Scalprum over here, but honestly the Alocasias aren't doing too well. Behind here we've got a Philodendron ernestii. Yeah, it's not living its best life at the moment. And over here is my bottom part of the Adansonia. Remember how I said the big Adansonia had a chop? This is the bottom part that I chopped off, and I made many cuts over here. So hopefully I'll get lots and lots of plants out of this bottom pole. That only happened yesterday, so that's why there's no growth. One of the Adansonia cuttings I also put on this moss pole over here just to start a new one, because why not? And then over here is my Philodendron Burle Marx Fantasy, and that was just growing up its grow vertical moss pole until it reached the very top, and I didn't want to extend it, so what I did is I chopped in between every single node. So now I have like, I don't know, 10-15 plants on there, and I'm waiting for all of them to reshoot. Guess what? I'll make a special video on this one. This is a dragon hybrid that Tim made. Hasn't really done anything for me in a year, so it's just a filler. And this one is a Tenue over here. Also hasn't had the best time with me, but that's okay. We'll stay patient. This is a medium silver. It way outgrew its moss pole, and I was way too lazy to get on top of it, and I probably also need to water this. This looks a bit droopy. I'll give this some water later. Anyway, I'll just chop it and I'm propagating it in water. Could not be asked to do an extension. We have got a little gigas. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why I have this one twice. I also forgot about this one in the corner. Oopsie, what happened here? What are you? What's happening? Let's just ignore this. And then over here I've got a pothos. Some pothos. It's not really sizing up. It's supposed to be the global green, but it's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much light. Maybe not enough light. Nothing's happening, but I'm just going to let it do its own thing. I hope it's just going to survive over winter, and then I'm going to tackle this plant in spring. Bonifaciae, I think is this one. Love the strappy philodendron leaf. So excited for this one. Also one that Tim from Grow Vertical gave me. And then a variegated monstera because, well, why not have 800 of them? My Brandthianum is also doing okay. Still really small. I think I gave up on ever growing it really large. Maybe in spring. Next to that, however, is one I'm really excited about at the moment. Coccineanum. Also has Verkoisen parentage. So nice red backs. By now you probably know I'm a sucker for Verkoisen parentage. And a pagoda lipstick plant. Look at that. I just love the backside of these, and I think it stopped now, but it was even flowering for me, and it had such cute flowers. So very happy with that. And there's one here. I think it's old. Yeah, it's an old flower here, unfortunately. Died. Alright, that's the greenhouse, like a really quick tour of the greenhouse. Alrighty, this was just a really quick tour of the greenhouse and the garden. The garden and the greenhouse aren't really my priority going into autumn and winter. I'm really just hoping for survival. Now, the biggest challenge I will be facing is certainly temperatures. Humidity will be just fine. Now, my main goal over the cooler season is avoiding wet and cold. Wet and cold is a deadly combination, will most likely cause your plant to just rot away. So I'm being more conservative with the watering, more conservative with the misting. Definitely making sure that airflow is kept up in there at all times. I'm aiming for, like, you know, in summer I want like 99% humidity in there. In winter I'm probably just aiming for about 80 or so. And I have two humidity readers, one at the bottom, one at the top, and I can just control it all from my phone. Alrighty, had to take it inside. It was getting way too noisy out there with all of the construction, but that concludes the tour. You've seen all of my plants inside of my house, in my garden, as well as my greenhouse. And if you watched the whole tour, I would love for you to leave a planty emoji in the comment section. A flower, a plant, a house plant, a tree. I don't care as long as it's a plant. Now, the next tour will be at the beginning of spring, and in that tour we can then assess whether or not my plants have survived winter. In the meantime, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.